Anyway, I'll do my thing. Hey, welcome everybody to the show. We are now in conversation with Mr. Dan Washburn. Dan, how are you? And welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you. I've heard so much about you from your manager, Pinky, man. It is finally, and I got to tell you, finally a great deal to finally meet this man that Pinky talks so highly about.
Don, it's nice to meet you. I'm really glad to be here, to be honest, and it's a pleasure. So thank you.
I got to tell you, in this time we seem to be living in, we were talking just a little bit about this before the show started, and it's kind of cool because we kind of live on the same planet when it comes to this pandemic thing. Being in radio now, as you can see,
Mm.
home studios and the bullshit that comes involved with that.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about what Dan's doing in this time, man. You were talking about doing some writing via the same
Well,
thing we're doing the interview on via Zoom.
we've been writing on Zoom. I mean, I'm a published writer out of Nashville. I mean, and I work with a bunch of writers down there. And not all of them are doing Zoom. So the ones that will and can, I do. I've been writing with an Irish woman most recently. I've got a friend, Caroline, in Toronto that I write with. I actually took her down and I produced a couple of sides on her in Nashville, or one or two songs on her in Nashville. And so I've been doing that. Came back from Nashville on my last trip was the 7th. I'm usually down about every 6 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. And they closed the planet, as you know. So it's tough, but that's what we've been doing. I've been writing, and I'm writing with a few more Canadians, which is good. I'm not writing with enough Canadians, so I'd like to improve that a little bit.
Yeah, there's so many great Canadian artists there, and you're
Yeah,
right about that. And a lot of talent that's not being showcased in our Canadian entertainment field. Let's put it that way. I mean, actors,
true.
it goes right down the band. But
Yeah.
what's some great music Dan has, man? Pinky introduced me to you during Christmas through the big holidays with your Christmas single. What a great tune that was.
Yeah,
Is
that
that something you enjoy doing the Christmas thing?
it is. I mean, I wanted to. Um, One of the publishers I worked with was Scott Pascal in Nashville. And Scott said, Christmas songs, if you have a good Christmas song, they're kind of like a gift that keeps on giving. It just, if it's a good one and people are going to want to cut it, you could get a few cuts out of it, a good song. Anyway, to make a long story longer, I was coming back from the studio, and I went by my mom and dad's old farmstead. I went the back way just because I felt like doing that. And the house was gone and knocked down, and it was into a cornfield. I knew that was coming, so that's kind of why I went by. And I remember actually saying out loud, just me in the car. So I don't always talk to myself, but I did this day, and I'm glad I did. And I said, "Man, I loved that old house," and uh, and that line didn't leave me. And then a week. This is like about a year ago. November passed, um, and I went down to Nashville, and I was writing with some friends, Sam Gay and Templeton Thompson, and I write with those guys regularly. And we've had 3 or 4 singles with the three of us writing. And I told them, I said, well, I've been walking around with this line, man, I love that old house. And I just thought about it's Christmas, and I remember having great Christmases, and we talked for about 5 minutes. And Sam just said, yeah, man, I love this old house, especially this time of year. And it was on.
That's
And
it.
we were done in an hour and a half. I mean, that fell out. We talked about our Christmases with our own families where we all grew up. Sam was in Texas, or Templeton was Texas, and Sam, I forget where Sam was, out west in the Midwest, and I'm Canada. But we had a lot of commonality there. And so there was a lot of things. And we all talked about our moms in the kitchen making way more than they need. So there's just lots of cool things that ended up in the song because of our discussion.
Yeah, and it's different, like from our Christmases of the past from today.
Oh,
Big difference from where our moms and grandmoms and I
yeah,
used to love it because Christmas to us was going back to grandma's house in Northern Ontario because that's where I'm from is Ontario also. And
yeah.
man, what a special time of year that was because our family was unique. We were in back in them days. It was nothing to have all your family and cousins living in the same town. And
Oh,
and we moved away. For my dad was an executive, so we moved away to Southern Ontario. Um, and the joys of coming back for Christmas was something else, man. It was just something that you can't replace in our time in this day. You know,
And those days,
what a strange day
yeah,
this was.
we all lived close enough, that we would get together. It'd be nothing to have 30 people, and and we would alternate where we had it. But usually it was at my grandmother's on my mom's side, and she was a professional baker in her youth as a young woman, and she could put on a feast. And so, and back in those days, there'd be like a couple of my grandmothers, because we made it a blended everybody together. And I remember I was a kid, but I remember I was like a teenager. I remember bringing snowmobiles dressed up as Santa Claus, and we had a bunch of young, cousins and stuff like that. And I played Santa Claus for a few years until they got big enough to say, "Oh, stop, Uncle Dan, you're just, we know who you are."
Different times, that's for sure.
Yeah. Can you hear me now, by the way?
No, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. That means what I should do now is say, "Hey, YouTube, what's up? Thanks for joining us here on In Conversation with Don Pierce and Sauerkraut. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn it gray from red, and hit those bell notifications so that you'll get notifications when we're on air as well. Okay, there you go. Now I'll shut up and you guys can keep on talking.
You do that so well, man.
Yeah, it's like I've said it a couple
times. Got it
times.
Perfectly down, doesn't he? He does that so well.
Yeah,
got it down, man. He's got the powder going.
Yep,
yeah,
I do.
He's got the powder going. All right, love that hair again, man. Like you did it up for me again today, man. You know, I'm jealous. I don't have any friggin' hair, so it kind of.
I know. So you got to make fun of the guy that does have it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. God only made so many perfect heads, and he covered the rest with hair, dude. It's just the way it is.
I don't know about that. I think he covered all the perfect ones with hair, and then the rest were all bald. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go back to Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Hey, so like I was, Christmas was a whole different time for us back then, and it's changed. Like we're going to talk about the whole Zoom thing. Like, do you find it hard? Well, let's not call it hard. Is it very different writing via Zoom than it used to be? Like, hey, come on, let's go down and let's jam. Well, it's just it must be difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and there's lag, so you can't both play at the same time. There's just too much lag. There's too much of that, and it just makes it impossible. Now there's a Canadian. And I don't know how true it is. A friend of mine had said something on Facebook, and I read it, and I asked her, like, if you hear more about this, let me know. But there's an engineer guy that thinks he's got it licked, or well on the way to having it licked. So if that happens, that's going to change the world for a lot of musicians, being able to record at the same time in a live stream, and then multi-track software is cheap now. I mean, you can put it on your machine for next to nothing, right?
I'm an engineer that's got it licked, by the way.
What's that?
I'm an engineer that's got it licked, by the way. I have another way to do it. We're not using the other way right now. We're using Zoom still right now, but there is another way to do it.
Another way, We've got it figured out for our concerts.
It's fairly recent. So he's talking about getting a dozen guys on a platform to record at the same time.
Wow, that would be interesting.
I
would just love to watch that
with no latency. So I'm anxious to see what that's like. I don't know how, but anyway, right now it's difficult. So you've got a lot of stops and pauses. It's like, what? No, you go. No. What? No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. And then so that's for like 3 hours. I did a write yesterday with some friends in Nashville. Or no, who did I write with? Was it? I can't remember, but it was a long write. It was someone.
It was only yesterday, right, Dan?
It was a 6-hour write, and there was a lot of no. What? You go. So after 6 hours, you're ready to hit the fridge and find out what you got in there that you can drink. That's not just diet something. Right. So,
yeah, no doubt.
Do they make Diet Wisers?
Yeah, Bud Light.
No, I mean, no. I meant like Wisers, like Wisers whiskey. And I'm not talking about no girly foo-foo drinks.
That's right. So there's a lot of that. I mean, and some of the people that I write with don't want to write on Skype or Zoom or FaceTime. That's just not, it just doesn't work for them at all. They're even the ones that are tech savvy are a little hesitant. So, but some of them like, yeah, let's have a go. So, I mean, it took us about 6 hours. I think if we'd have been in person, we might have got it done in a little quicker time. But it's just a lot of that stopping and latency, and you can never play at the same time. So so I'd be jamming, and then she'd listen, and then she'd go, and then I'd listen. So we went back and forth, and we got a good song out of it, though. We ended up with something that we're happy with. So,
well, and that's the important thing. But
yeah,
what an effort, though, just to try, like, and emphasize this because how hard it is just for you guys to keep on, getting the music out and trying to make a living at it, especially you,
yeah,
and guys like you that do this as, this is full-time gig for you,
it's a
and
full.
yeah, when,
And then
when daddy
and I'm
ain't
also
singing, the steaks ain't coming in, let's say, you know what I mean?
that's right. I'm also doing stuff for sync and television, right? For movies and soundtracks and stuff like that. Um, and so I need to get in the studio. So I have a studio that I work at fairly regularly, and in Canada when I'm not in Nashville, and so that's been a real blessing, just to be able to. It's half an hour from me. Andy Thompson's got a great studio, just the other side of Campbellford, over by Warkworth, out in the middle of nowhere. A very good, high-end, high-quality studio. And so we are able to work in there, and we don't even have to be close. I mean, he's up in the booth, and it's a giant room, and I can come in through a side door and bring the gear in, and he can stay up in the room. So we're able to actually work and not worried about COVID. We're not worried about all of that stuff. We talk and catch up and chinwag,
Well,
have
I'm for one
coffee.
of them guys that truly believe that music and what you do is a part of mental health, and I think that it should
Oh,
continue, and I think you should be deemed essential, because what you do is well, it takes a lot of pain away from a lot of people, and I don't mean to be saying that in a
yeah,
derogatory way. It's man, if for some people, if it's not for music, they just don't have anything, and
yeah. It
I'm
was
talking about a
a
lot of
lot of
our grandparents that just
a lot.
don't dig TV, man. It's just they
Yeah,
they listen to a lot of music, and now everything's kind of dead for them. Like
it
I know
is.
back in my time, my grandparents used to like going to symphonies and all that stuff down in well, back then we called it TO, folks,
To
Toronto.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
big TO.
Now it's the T
So
dot or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. All the slang changes all the time now.
yeah, I know. Like
I
the other day, someone called it the Big Smoke.
did
Like
Big
I
smoke.
said, huh?
Smoke.
I said,
What?
what the hell are you talking? Where's that? Toronto. And I knew right then that he was Canadian. As soon as he called Toronto, I knew
Toronto.
he was
Toronto.
Canadian.
I used to be a bit of a hobby flyer. I was working on my pilot's license, and whenever on certain days in the summer when you went up at Peterborough, I was flying out of Peterborough Airport at Trent Air, and you get up a couple thousand feet and you're looking at Toronto, and it's just a giant brown haze over the whole city back in
Man,
those days. And we
yeah,
called it Big
Big
Smoke.
Smoke. Yeah, yeah. I can remember coming in there a few times on an airplane, and it's like, wow, look at this. It's incredible. But the music's changed, the industry's changing. How is it? How easy is this been for Dan to adapt and change through all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a more traditional vibe to my music than new, but I'm keeping it new enough that I'm getting airplay. Now I'm not getting a lot of airplay in my own country because they don't know what to do with old guys. It's like,
Oh, wait a minute,
I
wait
don't
a minute. That's not fair. I play at least 2 or 3 of your
know.
songs a day.
No.
I'm just
You guys,
I'm blowing my own horn here now, buddy.
I don't get a lot of radio airplay on terrestrial radio,
Yeah.
um, but I do in other places in the world, which is, I mean, I was charting in Australia with 2 songs over the holidays, and charting in the UK and in Ireland, and just so that's good. I don't know what the residuals will be from that. I'll find out in about 8 or 9 months, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm sure
it's tough.
Spotify will send you your $12.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
it's a shame though, Dan, because like now your music, and I Pinky sent me a whole lot of it, and I love it, and I play a lot of it, and that's what I was getting at. That your style of music is where country is coming back to in radio. Actually, a lot
yeah,
of this new pop shit is there. Trust me, but the old genres with yourself and the likes of even Garth coming back, out of retirement the last few years and putting his face back into it. Blake Shelton, he's going on this big, hey, what about us kick? We're still here. But luckily for Blake, he's still getting, quite a bit of airplay. But I think a lot of that has to do, thanks to the voice. All right. He's out there and he's in public, but,
he's out there in public. Yeah. Garth did some touring. I mean, he broke all the records for touring there, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
That's
my session leader, Chris Lusinger, is Garth's session leader, and you've heard him play lots. He's the guitar player, and all my stuff is Chris. And Chris has played for Garth for 32 years. And he actually got to go out for the first time to go out on tour and play live with the band. And he said it was a gas. And there's a video or a clip of or two of him on YouTube or wherever on the internet. And so yeah, the guys are still around. You got to be out there, so if you're not, if you snooze, you lose a bit, right? So you got to kind of keep active in today's market. You got to be doing things like what we're doing now. You've got to be writing good songs. I think if it's still a good song is still going to sell.
And that's the truth. And the other part of that is getting it out to a proper and get it recorded. A lot of new independent artists out there, and we get them every day. Sauerkraut will vouch for this. Myself, I get 200 or 300 emails every couple of days just with artists sending us songs for the radio. And it's like, wow, really? You're sending this to a radio station? And I think the problem is everybody gears all this internet radio shit into the same group. And they don't, they don't realize that there's some radio stations like Access, and that's actually owned by a media group that is actually licensing and paying royalties and doing all the things just like terrestrial radio is. It's just that these guys here at Shorgenfire Media, they have a vision. It's they believe that internet radio is the future, and
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with it 100% because technology is there.
Like, but you just have to you have to watch. Because everybody's trying to call themselves internet radio, even though they're not. You know what I mean?
True.
Like people that have a podcast are trying to say, "Well, it's a radio station." No, it's not. It's a podcast.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
Calling it a radio station.
Yeah.
So. Like we have podcasts too. Like this is a podcast / goes out on the air. Goes on Access TV. Like right now, you're live on Access TV. You're live on our YouTube channels. You're live everywhere. But But, we put a lot of time and effort into doing what we do, and getting great guests like you to come on and, is part of our gig too. So, we try and do it right. You guys got to do it right. And how important is that? How often do you have to say, and you know what, I'm just not ready to release this yet. It's just not.
Well, I try and stay ahead of the curve a little bit. Every other trip in Nashville, I'm recording. And I've got an amazing team. I've had the same team for 6 years. They are the best at what they do. And they have the accolades and awards and the platinum records to prove it. So without saying any more about that, they're just that good. So I try and stay ahead of the curve. Every other trip I'm cutting down there. So I'll record anywhere from 3 to 6 songs. I'll do at a time. Like we may either do a full day or a half day, like a 3. I'll do a 10 and a 2. You book 10 till 1. You book 3-hour blocks. So I'll do a 10 and a 2 sometimes, or sometimes I'll just do the 10 and do 3 sides. Sometimes we end up with a 4th song, or in a full day, we'll end up with a 7th song. Last trip down, I did a full day and we ended up with 7 songs. I'm really glad I did that because it's got me ready for my next couple of things, But I'm going to be doing a session in the next couple of weeks down there. I'll be on a laptop sitting at my producer's chair at the console on a laptop. Team's going to come around. Chris and I go over the charts the night before, just like if I was there. We'd usually meet on one of the nights, the night before, go through the arrangements. I've got the arrangements done. We go through the charts and we tweak. We figure out who's taking the solo here, who's doing the intro, what instrumentation do we want, where do we want the fills? We want steel, do we want a dobro, we want a mandolin, what do we want, like guitar? So we go through all of that. And then I tell the team, when we get together in the studio, 5 minutes, I take 5 minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of their time before we cut. And I explain to them what I'm looking for, what I'm going for, the sound that I'm looking for, and then I'll play them the song. Sometimes I tell them about the song. um, where it came from and what it's about. And sometimes that matters. If you want to set a mood, you tell them what you're thinking about, and you just relay the story to them about it. And usually they come up to me, and like Mike Rojas is the keyboard player a lot, or Gary Prim, but Mikey come up to me after one session. He does all the Lady A stuff, or he did. I don't know who's doing it now, but he did do a bunch of records.
Robert,
but Mikey says,
Robert Eskridge was asking a question, actually. Sorry, I just had to jump in here. He says, what studio do you use when you go down to Nashville?
Hilltop.
Hilltop?
Yeah, Hilltop. I've done some overdub stuff at Sound Emporium as well, but Hilltop.
Okay, there you go. Hilltop.
Yeah, Hilltop. John Nicholson and Matt is the assistant down there. Really good staff, really good prices, and they've got everybody's on the wall that you'd want to see in a recording studio.
Robert says he uses the mic on keyboards.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard
Robert
to beat.
Eskridge is from Robert Eskridge and Southern Days. He's an award-winning artist that comes into our show a lot and chats with some of our guests and a newer audience. Glad to have you, Robert. Nice to see you again, man.
Mikey Rojas is a pretty happening guy. If Mikey can't make it, I've got Gary Prim. And Gary's got his list of accolades too. I mean, so I've got good players. But anyway, Mikey came up to me after and he said, you telling me what that song was about and the personal connection that you had with that made a difference on this track for me. Thanks. That was it.
And I've listened to quite a few of your tracks from Pinky. You sent me quite a bit, and each one seems to tell a story. And is that all? Is some of is the most of these songs or all of these songs? Let's put it that way. Part of Dan's life.
Yeah, I don't think there's any song that I've put out that wasn't about didn't have a personal connection with me. Not all the stuff necessarily that I've done. I've recorded, like 1,000 times more songs than what you've heard. I mean, there's songs that will never will get played on radio that are absolutely magic to me. They're just wonderful songs. And some of them I record, not too many of them, because I mean, it is a business. And so you try and invest your money and your time and talents wisely so that you can try and recoup some dollars out of that to make all the wheels spin, right?
There's the important thing right there is, like how many folks don't realize that this is a business. This is a business for Dan. This is how you make your living. That's how you pay your bills. And if you don't...
It's tough right now with the pandemic. It's a bugger. I mean, not being in Nashville, I feel very unplugged, very disconnected. But yet I'm in touch enough with people down there. So I'm looking forward to this session. I'll tell you how it goes in a couple of weeks and we'll see what comes out. I got a few good songs that I want to get done. So I'm going to pick my best 4. We'll probably get 3 done, but you always have a 4th one just in case.
That's for sure. I want to talk a little bit about Dan, the person, because, Pinky had shared a story with me that really kind of shows the type of fella you are, is that her father-in-law had a song that you helped kind of rebloom and create, which I play on my station, I might add, because I like the song. Didn't really know the story behind it till I started playing it, and Pinky shared that. Like sharing your talents to do that for a young family, or for a family. She says to me, every time I hear that, it just puts a smile on my face. Tell me a little bit about that and how that came about.
Yeah, well, she said, look, I don't know if you're interested in this or not, but my I guess it was her father-in-law.
Yeah.
And he had passed, and he had written this song. We can't remember the tune, but it was kind of a fun boogie woogie kind of thing. And I went, okay. And it was called Black Mountain Boogie. So they couldn't remember all the words. They put down everything they could remember. They didn't have any semblance of an idea for the tune or the melody. So I turned it into what I thought would be a good boogie woogie piece. And then, so I wrote lyrics that not all the lyrics were there. Like much of it was there. And I kind of tweaked it, moved things around, wrote the music, and then arranged it. And then I went into the studio and we cut it over here in Campbellford at Andy Thompson's. And I think there was 2 or 3 of us. It was a lot of fun. It was just
what a great
just
song.
want to have a fun track. And she was very appreciative, and it was very kind of her to ask me to do it. It was an honor to do it. So
it's a great fun song, and how I did that, and I played a bunch of your songs all week, one a week, and kind of highlighting your music. And then at the end, on the Friday, I says, now, we're going to end because Dan's coming on here next week, and this is his big light. But I'm going to throw this song at you, and then I put Black Mountain Boogie on, and people just went, "That's Dan," because I played a lot of your quieter stuff, and people were shocked, and I don't know if they were shocked, but they were pleasantly shocked. Now now I'm getting requests for the damn thing, so it's. Next thing you know, you're gonna have a number one record of something you just helped a friend with.
it's just kind of a fun song. We weren't trying to change the world. We just wanted to have fun and honor, her father-in-law who'd gone on, and honor his memory. And it was something for the family. It was kind of a gift, right? So
yeah, and it's a great thing that you did. Taking your time to be able to do that, and sharing that with Pinky, and then turn, let's not be so modest, and then giving up all the credit and rights to the family. That was pretty cool. She told me the whole story, Dan. So it was, and what a wonderful thing for you to do, and just to help out and bring
some joy. Credit on, and that's all that I wanted. I just said, just credit me as a writer. Because I did co-write it, and that's it. I don't need any royalties or anything from it like that.
Great song, it's I think this time in this pandemic, and especially now, with everybody locking down again, and people getting, let's say the man getting pretty serious about it, and like you were sharing a story before we were ironed about the 3 guys or 4 guys in a snow machine, going out for and getting busted, and what'd you say, $750 a person or something in the car.
Talking to my buddy at the studio today on the phone, and 3 or 4 of them, they were just transporting snowmobiles on a trailer up, and they were going up there to I don't know if they were going up a snowmobile or getting rid of them. I don't know. That's just a story. You don't know how true it is, but Andy had heard that they got popped for $750 for each person in the car.
Wow, that's
so y'all need to stay home until the 23rd or whatever it is. For this,
I don't know. We got
the 23rd of February, 2022 is when they're going to want you in there for. After that, it should be safe to come out. If not, they'll extend it to 2023. Well, it was supposed to be over January 28th, and then now it's February 23rd, and it's going to go again. I mean, I'm in Ontario. Yeah. The funniest thing is that they said, well, they're imposing restrictions on Ontario, even though most of Ontario already thought we were in lockdown. I don't know how, were we not in lockdown starting in December 27th or 26th, whatever it was? And then
we were.
And then all of a sudden people are like, okay, so now Rob Ford's locking us down. Wait a second. We were already locked down. No, but apparently we were, but we weren't. I don't know. But now it's changed because apparently now they can fine you, and that's the biggest change.
I think we're under a secondary lockdown order right now until the 23rd of January.
23rd of February.
January, I think.
No, February. It's extended till February now. Yeah.
They just bumped it up again today. Yeah.
Oh, because Emmy told my wife's a doctor. She told me it was a week Saturday.
Yeah.
Are they going back just to certain cities that are going to go into these extended lockdowns?
No.
We actually have a curfew. You can't go out after 8:00 right now.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, it was supposed to be for they're in Quebec. They definitely have the curfew. Here in Ontario, apparently he's trying to stay away from that if possible. But I mean, pretty much nothing's open after 8:00 anyways now. No restaurants, no nothing.
You can't go out after 8:00. You can't go out after 8:00 right now, and you can't go anywhere unless it's for essential services like food, medical.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Now, my wife's still working. She's, in a therapist, so she's busy all the time.
Yeah. Well, my wife's a pharmacy tech, and I'm a fire safety personnel, but also working
You guys are
for hydro. So if it wasn't for hydro, then nobody would be able to stay home right now. So I mean, either way, we're essential, and that's actually something that my wife and I were talking about today, because technically, the daycares are closed. So how are we getting who's to watch our kids while we work, because we're both essential workers? So my mother-in-law, who lives around the corner, has to come over and watch the kids. But there was a story that today, I think it was actually in Belleville, if I read the thing right. There was a gathering and people called the police. The police came in and they investigated. They charged the grandmother, for coming over to babysit her daughter's kids while her daughter was at work. And they said that because it's a separate household, so apparently she got charged. But I mean, there's more to it. When both parents are working parents and they're both essential. I mean, the government's not giving me enough to stay home to pay our bills. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest issue. There's more than that. Just that.
How would you work that? Like, how do you do that? I mean, it's crazy. Like, what do you do for that?
I'm not doing anything illegal. Just
well, it doesn't make sense to me. Like how do we get this control of this stuff if we're not all on the same page? I heard all the crap that's going around in Ontario. Half the problem is confusion. Number one, nobody knows who, what, where, and what is considered essential, what is not, and that stems back from his earlier, what he, all of a sudden everybody was essential, and like people were starting to say, well, let's just put what essential is. Poor keep working and the rich stay home. And, but now he's gone the whole total opposite, where everybody's locking down. It's just, I don't know. Alberta was supposed to do it. And I was there the other day.
He still says that everybody's locking down, but I can tell you that there was more cars on the way to work this morning than I've seen during the last, what we were considered under lockdown. Yeah. There was more people, more traffic today than I had. I thought I'd get up and see hardly anything. I had like an extra 2 minutes on my commute to work. So I mean, it was pretty busy.
Should have took the pedal bike.
I went to Belleville today, like for medical reasons. I long story longer. Again, I had a motorcycle accident 3 years ago, and a guy turned in front of me. I was coming back from the studio on my bike, and a guy turned in front of me, and I ended up driving through the rear end of a car with my right leg. So it was pretty miraculous that I lived at all, but just kind of crashed up my leg pretty nasty. So I've been seeing an athletic therapist for 3 years now. Similar to physio, except that they just push your behind.
Yeah.
When they want to fix you, when they do therapy on you, it's okay. This isn't going to kill you. Get up. Okay, 10 more. You can do it. 10 more. Anyway, so
well, they didn't never tell you it wasn't going to hurt. They just said we're going to kill you.
It's not going to kill you. It'll hurt like hell. It ain't going to kill you though.
So I mean, I'm down to seeing him once a week now, but there was a time when I saw him 3 times a week. Then it went to twice. Then it went to once every week. Then so that's where we're at right now. So but I mean, saying all that to say this, the traffic looked kind of normal, like the same today. So I'm not sure how that's all working.
I don't think it's working at all. I mean, just like we weren't supposed to go visit our family for Christmas, and we weren't supposed to go out for New Year. And I can tell you the hotels here in Niagara Falls were booked solid for New Year's.
But what's the difference? Like, how does that stop? Like, I can't go visit my family for Christmas, but I can go stand with 300 people at Costco and go into a 300 people store, but they keep saying, oh, well, the ventilation in there is great. What the hell do you mean their ventilation is great? They've got the heat jack up. This is Canada, dude. Like, it's not like they got the friggin' doors open here. It blows my mind. And what gets me is the little guy is the one getting hurt again, right?
They shut the mom and pop stores down, and Walmart and Costco, and they're all doing well.
Well, that's what I said the other day on the internet, man. It's like Jane's dress store. Jill goes in and buys a dress from, Jane. Jane gets a fine. Jill gets a fine. And, poor Jill's dress shop is now closing permanently, but Costco's making millions.
Well, I vote for this next lockdown to lock down Costco and Walmart and Zehrs and Sobeys and all those places and
Leave the little guy open, yeah.
and let the little guys stay open and let them make record profits this time. And let's put the rest of them out of business. Get your groceries at the corner store, stuff like that. Let's keep those guys in business too.
Guys, I think we just solved the economy crisis.
There you go.
You think that would be so easy, wouldn't it? You know, like this. Well, you know what? That red guy that we have here that just thinks China is his next savior. Just I don't get him at all. I don't know what his whole plan is. Number one, this is a whole country here dealing with a pandemic, and I do think it's a big mistake that we're letting each province deal with it separately. Because you know what, I was in Ontario not more than 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm traveling back and forth because that back then it was what I needed to do, but now they're still coming. Sauerkraut lives right there at the border, and like he went down there and did a little investigating about this closed border shit. And like he said, there's cars coming all the time, right? That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
Cars coming all the time. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and then the issue is people that are asymptomatic. So they're going around, they've got COVID, but they don't have any symptoms because there's quite a good chunk of the populace that doesn't get sick. They don't get sick when they have it. They don't know they've got it. And then that's how you give it to grandma. So that's the issue of people that are coming from hot areas that are asymptomatic going to areas where they don't have a lot of it. We don't have it where we live. We just don't. We've had very little. Belleville's had a bit, but where I live in Sterling, we've had one case. And it was, again, somebody that, guess what, traveled in.
Yeah, that's like us too. We don't have any here where we are because we're in a little small town too. But it's all around us. And it's all around us. But how do you control this? Like, it's not very hard for somebody to make a right turn off the 401 there and go into Sterling and say, I'm here, and then all of a sudden, you got COVID everywhere. So I think this needs to be a federal response, in this whole thing, that we got to deal with it as a one, everybody on the same rules, so everybody's not confused. That's number one, and
they're not going to do that though. They're not going
to. How would he get reelected if he was to do it on a federal level? You know what I mean? It would look bad on him. So he's got to pass the buck on to the provinces. And the other thing with the federal level too is the mobility rights. If the provinces impose it, the federal government's not in trouble, right? So there's all sorts of little tiny BS things that are going on in the background that are totally. I mean, we could talk about this all day.
Biggest political bullshit in my life.
What Sauerkraut was saying about the big stores open, why don't we close those down? That's not going to happen.
No, for sure.
There's just
because somebody's pockets are getting lined somewhere. Yeah.
Contribution pockets going on there.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I mean, that's $20 million given. Yeah, $20 million given to the Weston family for refrigerators for their stores. So they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and we don't. Their government's giving them $20 million to put new refrigerators in because they're so broke.
I saw something really funny. We'll end with this maybe. It's online. Home hardwares, because they're not essential right now, right? Yeah. So home hardwares, there's a chain of hardware stores. So one of the guys, he put in a whole row of food, of canned goods and dried goods. So, awesome. I'm thinking, okay, that works.
Yeah.
That made me.
Well, there was a barber that was trying to sell oranges too, just oranges, so that they could stay open. But apparently that didn't work. Apparently you have to have more than just oranges.
Oranges. No, hardware had a great big gas row of food, of dried goods and canned goods. It was fine.
Why not? If everybody else, you got the grocery stores selling undershorts, so what's the difference now?
In business, $2,000 worth of groceries.
No shit. So what's next for Dan anyway? What do you got on the plate for new releases and stuff coming up?
I'm writing every day pretty much, or every other, and I've got a recording session coming up. There'll be a new single. We're just gearing up for a new single to come out. I'll keep you posted on that, or Pinky will. One of us will. So that, and as soon as we can get some of this crisis over, I've got about 4 songs that I need to finish up at the studio. I've got to sing. I'll usually record in Nashville and then sing up here. Yeah. So that's what I've got to do. I've got an album that's all finished. So we're ready to go to press with it. I've just got to hear the final mixes. and I can do that at home. And then once the final mixes, once I approve those, then that can get, we're going to actually make maybe 500 or 1,000 hard copies, because mostly everybody digitally downloads it now. But I'm going to make a few hard copies and send to guys like you. I've got to send some to Australia and over to Ireland and the UK.
Yeah, I got some good friends over in Ireland that play your stuff, other DJs and radio stations that knows about Dan. And man, your European connection is getting, pretty. You got a pretty good following over there.
Well, and I used to play with a band back in the day, South Mountain, and we traveled to Europe a lot. About every 8-9 months we were in Europe, and toured there. Had a lot of fun, a lot of success there, and I enjoyed that tremendously. And so I don't think there's only a couple of contacts that I still have from those days, and a couple of friends, fans kind of thing that have become friends. And so we've stayed in touch, some of us. So that's kind of fun to be getting that, back up and running a bit. I started releasing there last year again.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I was talking to a friend of mine, Jerry, and he works at an FM gig over there in Ireland.
Oh, Jerry O'Brien?
Yes, and yeah, Jerry. I know you do. So yeah, I guess I'll give him a plug. Jerry O'Brien at Carlo FM.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jerry, and yeah, he is a great guy, and he just loves North American country music, and we get into talking about some of the, as he puts it, stars from here. And he just compares, and it's just, and I love his accent, and I'm not even going to attempt to do it. And he gets so wound up.
Now you have to. Now you have to try it. Go on.
Oh, I'm not an
Irish. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear this Irish accent.
Oh, I ain't got no Irish accent, but I'd sound like somebody from India or something, and then I embarrass myself and everybody else. So,
that's okay.
And I'm about as politically correct as a yo-yo, so it ain't happening.
Oh gosh, I feel so at home here.
Well, yeah, we should have had you in on beer, bourbon, and outlaws, Dan. We had six country music guys all drinking bourbon and smoking cigars. It was a hell of a night.
Country music host falls out of his bar stool chair.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I don't deal with I'm not a drinker because I got liver cancer, but it was sure fun. Well, we don't even worry about it, but it was so fun to watch everybody else having a great time. Even that guy behind you, he had to sneak out in the middle of the show, and he's lucky because the studio's right across the street from the liquor store. He can run right across because he ran out halfway between. Show was supposed to be an hour, ended up being 3. It was craziness. Well, we had a good time. Had a good time. Mr. Robert Eskridge was there, the guy that was talking to you earlier. He's got a great gig there. We should hook him up with Robert Gort. I'll tell you, he's a good guy, country artist, does a lot in Nashville. Actually, the breakout artist of 2020 in Nashville, works with Christian K. Smith out of Nashville. And he's in Germany. He has a big ranch over there. He's a German fella and lives over there. And he's trying to get... Yeah, he's getting Germany now has that great big country fest every year now,
Yeah.
And he's trying to promote a lot of Canadian and American artists. He's got a new podcast out that he's trying to get a lot of guys from Canada and United States on. So, I'm going to hit him up with your name there. Maybe he'll get in contact.
Sure.
Great guy.
Yeah,
It's fun to be on the
show.
There
when I was back in the old days, we played there. We played in a couple of cities in Munich, and we played the famous Rattlesnake Saloon there. That was a lot of fun.
Wow, yeah, man. Like, do you miss that kind of stuff, like going worldwide with your shit?
Yeah, I don't miss being away from home, but I do miss the people that I would meet and singing and an audience there. Nothing against our audiences, but it's just a whole other world. People will wait till the end of a song to get up and go to the bathroom in Europe in those days. I mean, and it'd be nothing to look out and see a couple of thousand lighters lit, as you're singing, because everybody smokes there, right? Or they did. And so, they're just so into what you're doing. They're just really, really dialed in. And it's amazing to look and see, a bunch of people in front of you as you're singing, and you're in Germany or Switzerland or wherever, Austria. We played a lot in Holland as well, and in the Netherlands. And to watch people singing your stuff, in English, singing along with you, that's just It's very humbling, and and you can't help but feel great. So I miss that, some of that. I miss the people.
Yeah, that and it must be quite a feeling for someone actually, to when you get that one-on-one feeling and you can actually say to somebody comes up to you and says, that song, Simple Things
Yeah.
or whatever, it really touched my heart. That must just mean something to you. And now it's all gone. And people don't realize what a disconnect that has for your business and your life in a whole, because that is what Dan Washburn's all about. It's your whole life is around music and getting out there.
You want people to feel something, whatever it is. Hopefully it's not disgust and who the hell is that and turn them off. But
Sauerkraut gets that every day.
All the time. That's just my wife.
That's my style. That's my style, man.
Yeah, that's who I am and what I'm going to do. But, you've got some great stuff out there, and I'm so happy that you took this time with us, to be having a conversation with us, man. I hope you come back and join us again.
Love you anytime. And if we can fix more than just COVID. I mean, we could fix anything. Get the three of us, we got it down, man.
Yeah. I know how to fix the government too.
Prime Minister Dan Washburn, right here. Yeah.
No. Sauerkraut's running for prime minister.
No, you're too young. We already went with that pretty haired look, and look at the fucking mess we're in now.
I don't know. I think I could say that word. I think I could do better.
Look at the mess I'm in now. Holy shit!
My hair is even nicer than his. I actually have got mine cut. I don't have any gray in my beard. Well, I'll legalize anything. I'll legalize anything.
You got to be able to grow one to have one.
Hey.
Not one of you are right. You know that, eh?
Yeah.
I know. It doesn't. I've been married 35 years, Dan. I'm never right.
No, that's right.
Oh, incredible. But anyway, folks, here we go. We're at the end of our time here, man. Dan, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a blast having you. Catch Dan out on Spotify, all this stuff. Hey, shoot out your website, Dan, so everybody can go there and buy your music.
Yeah, just www.danwashburn.ca.
There you go. Nice and simple. I love it when you Canadians have that CA on the back, because I am Canadian and proud of it. Anyway, Dan Washburn, everybody, get his stuff. Yes, we play him right here at Access Country Radio. And, of course, in conversation with Don Pierce and Sauerkraut. Have a great day, everybody. Dan, take care, man. I'll get in touch with Pinky, and I want that new stuff, definitely. Did you got a T-shirt, Dan?
Not yet. I've been, they're telling me I should do some of those things, so I guess I will.
Yeah, you should.
Maybe get some COVID masks for now instead.
Yeah, get some. Get the dollar sellers there. What I want you to do is if you get a T-shirt and you get one of them hard copies, send it out to our head office there. And
I'll get you a care package. You bet.
Yeah, we put it up in a frame up in our head office there in our lobby, so everybody that's been on the show gets that if they've got it. Anyway, folks, we're out of here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the Don Pierce Show, coast to coast. Take care. Ciao.